Hi, my name is Drew Leach. I'm the manager of lead generation here at Granicus. Really excited to have the opportunity to speak to you all today as part of Inside Sales' virtual summit. I know there's a lot of great topics being shared over these 2 days, but for now I'm going to be sharing a little bit more about building and leveraging prospecting campaigns, either as an individual BDR or SDR, or even for your entire team, in order to find new ways to identify potential prospects and have a more tailored and relevant approach to that outreach. So I'll start off with sharing a little bit more about Granicus and what we're about. Then can dive into how we define a campaign, particularly from the BDR side, what those campaign components are, and then can even share an example so that you can start to think through how you can leverage campaigns within your own BDR teams or for yourself. So at Granicus, we offer cloud-based solutions for the government sector to help increase engagement and transparency. So we work with over 3,000 government organizations from the federal level of the Department of Homeland Security down to the state levels, Department of Transportation or DMVs, all the way to cities and counties and throughout the UK as well. So for myself, I manage our business development team. We started with 4 BDRs when I first came on about 2 years ago, and have grown that to 14 BDRs covering the entire sales team across all markets and about 40 reps, helping to identify new business opportunities, whether from inbound marketing leads to outbound prospecting. Being able to identify these new opportunities, build pipeline for our sales team, and being able to schedule discovery calls that will set up for the sales reps, aligning with their territory and strategy. And the exciting thing for us, we actually report to marketing. I know that's different in some organizations where the function reports up to sales, but this really helps us align with the marketing campaigns that are going on, being able to understand what that marketing messaging is, and then bridge the gap from marketing to sales to make sure that we're also aligning with sales strategy and from an individual rep, knowing what their territory plan is. So it's really helped to make our team successful. And before Granicus, I've been in the BDR, SDR, inside sales world for about the past 5 years. And for those of you familiar, started with Vorsight, working under David Stillman and Steve Richards. So learned a lot of great things from them, being able to then move to managing my own BDR team. And as I mentioned, I started with Vorsight, so we were always moving from client to client, which was great because it helped keep our messaging relevant, learning new things, changing up our talking points, and really helped keeping it fresh and keeping the work exciting. So when I first took over the BDR team at Granicus, the first thing I realized is we had one consistent message, no matter who we were reaching out to, same conversation, or at least trying to go into the same conversation, no matter if the prospect was within different verticals or markets. There's no tailored approach there. And I could tell that it was starting to make it, for my reps, starting to make it feel like each day was the same. Starting to lose that engagement factor, both engagement between the BDRs and their prospects, as well as just for the BDRs themselves, lack of engagement. So I knew I had to change something. I knew we had to find a different approach we could take, at least from an outbound perspective, of how could we change it up? How could we keep it fresh? And being a part of the marketing team, that's where we started to think through, breaking up our efforts and campaigns and taking some of the work that the marketing team is doing from a demand gen side of buyer persona based campaigns, and leveraging that as, for our individual reps to be able to use, to developing that across our entire team. So how we define campaigns is, it starts with a common theme that relates to a grouping of accounts. So being able to leverage a common theme, being able to have a tailored approach and a tailored message that can be applied to a grouping, a segment of accounts in your total addressable market, allowing you to be more tailored and customized, but also efficient in that you can use that same messaging, tailored messaging across different accounts. So a lot of people will do research into each individual account, or they'll have messaging that spans across all of their customers. For this, we try to tailor it down to a smaller group of what our customer base can be to be more tailored, and then use that effective messaging across those different accounts. Help keep it more fresh, help keep it more engaging for our BDR team. You can see that they come in excited to be able to work on, even pairing with their sales rep or pairing with other BDR team members, coming up with these different campaigns that they could run on their own. And that's the beauty of it. Everybody can run a campaign. It doesn't just have to be something that marketing initiates. Whether it's an individual rep or something you work on with your entire team, the way that we look at campaigns, anyone can do it. So, in breaking down the components, we'll start with a theme. So, for a campaign overview, a theme is basically the summary or the briefing of what the purpose of that campaign is. It's based off the research that you're doing, whether you're hearing it from customers or seeing something in the news or just researching and Googling certain topics. Being able to identify what the theme is, and really it comes down to what is the challenge. So you're going to what is the common challenge that your customers or your prospects are facing that is relevant to that particular grouping of accounts. Then from that, you can identify the theme and really start to build your campaign out. Then we take it a level further from the challenge. So not only what is the challenge, but what is the cost or what is the impact to that account or to your customers, to your prospects? What are the financial costs? What are the company impacts of doing nothing? I always say that you have to, in order for someone to buy or make a change, you have to get them out of the mindset of the status quo and that what they're doing is okay. In order to do that, you have to be able to paint a picture of a challenge in their mind of what they're doing now is going to cost them down the road. So we have to understand what that cost is, that relates to that common challenge that we'll be able to use throughout the campaign and really drive home our messaging. So then we start to think through how we can help. So we look at the Granicus solution, and you notice how it says Granicus solution, not Granicus product. So we think through how can we help provide a solution that addresses these challenges. Knowing what our customers are facing, how do we come in and help solve that issue? This is not us shoving features and benefits and products down their throat. It's more of how can we be more related to their challenges and issues they're facing in order for them to see a way forward with us. Then we start to think through the target accounts. Now that we know our challenge, we know the cost that challenge affects, we know what type of solution we can provide. Let's start to think through what accounts is this specifically affecting, what market or industry or vertical does this grouping of accounts or does this challenge apply to? This helps you start to think through your actual prospecting plan and build that out, knowing which accounts you're going to be going after. Then think through the buyer persona. So now you know what your messaging is going to be, which accounts you're going to be going after. Now, who specifically are we targeting? Titles are good. It's good to know that, but especially for us in government, titles can be very different based off the different types of organizations you reach out to. So even more important, what are their responsibilities? What are their goals? What are their individual challenges? So you start to understand who you're actually going after and knowing at the contact level who you're targeting. Then we start to look through the resources that we may start to build out or are already available to us that we can leverage in the campaign. So for success stories, this can be marketing content that's actually built out, or just knowing within your current client base how your current clients have that have been in a similar situation, how you've helped them through that challenge in order to see a better way forward or help see ROI or whatever it is that you're trying to solve. So success stories, not only great to leverage in terms of driving value, since everyone can really connect better through a story instead of over pushing features or benefits. It's also a great source of developing out and building out these campaigns. You can identify, particular clients that may have a common, they're in a common vertical or in somewhat of a common situation that have a common challenge. And you can take that and then address it to other accounts and agencies in that grouping. So start with the success stories for our resources. Then we look into our marketing content. Are there any additional resources that we can leverage? Are there one-pagers out there, webinars, or anything relevant that we can, if the resources are already built out, to continue to leverage in our outreach? Then we start to build out our email templates and our talk tracks. So, we like to have talking points and not use scripts here. And then for our emails, we like to have, a template that is, a similar format that we find effective, that we can easily customize based off the individual that we are reaching out to. So we then build this out into, we are still using Google Docs. We built this into a Google Doc template that we can leverage as a team and start to build sort of a library arsenal of these campaigns that we can leverage, either so that other BDRs can see different topics other team members are using, or even to go back, a year or so to a campaign we ran last year that is now relevant again this year. Just for us, it's a good way to actually build this out in a template format and be able to share and leverage it across the team. So going to touch plans, obviously you have to build out first the campaign template for what we use, the campaign template, to be able to know what the structure of your campaign is going to be. But then you have to start to think through, what is your touch plan going to look like? How many calls are you going to make? How many emails are you going to send? What does that time period look like? What are the specific talking points you want to say in call one or your first email versus the third one? So this is where we've taken full advantage of inside sales and the new platform they have for playbooks. It's really helped us be able to keep track of these different campaigns, being able to build a different playbook for each campaign that we're running, and knowing which touch plan we want to use and the general messaging for that campaign. We're able to compile all of our prospects and keep track of them in that campaign to really see how successful for this one Department of Corrections, how successful was this campaign for us, how many prospects are we actually adding. This is obviously when I first built it out, we have 0 plays in progress, but in an actual campaign, we're adding 10 or so new prospects a day to the campaign, either an individual BDR building this out or for our team. So it was a great way for us to still have that tailored approach, but be a lot more efficient and effective. Now I want to walk through an actual example of a campaign that we ran, which was quite successful for us. And the funny thing with this one was it started with one of my team members and then span all the way, involving the entire marketing team. So kind of a reverse effect of what you typically would see. But so one of my BDRs decided to do some research and found that we had a lot of DMV clients that were leveraging our solution in order to generate revenue specific to license renewals. And then, from that, started to do some further research and started to notice that there's a lot of DMVs out there that are still using paper methods and having a lot of cost associated with license renewals, while also starting to see, less and less people renewing on time, again, increasing costs and effort needed to that. So, we've identified that challenge then, the cost spent on license renewals, actual cost being around $3.5 million per year, which for state agencies is definitely costly. We then started to think through our solution, how we can help. So being able to lower cost for DMVs in particular, while also increasing drivers' awareness, and so their stakeholders' awareness of upcoming renewals through a digital communication platform. So being able to engage through email and text messaging instead of receiving a actual paper newsletter that tends to end up hitting our recycling bins. So we knew our target agencies would be DMVs, or even at the county level if they have transportation departments. So it was pretty easy for us to identify the vertical we were going to be targeting in our grouping of accounts. From there, we were able to find a few different buyer personas from our director of communications, who is responsible for increased communication between the DMV and stakeholders and residents, as well as the director of the DMV, who had overall responsibility for license renewals. So we knew we had our two top buyer personas that we could go after, particular being that those were the people that we worked with our current clients. And then, of course, in terms of resources, we had our success stories. We're already working with New York and with Texas with their DMV process. So that's, again, where this all stemmed from to begin with. But having those resources for the campaign really helped make it effective. So, seeing the numbers here, some states were having more costs than others. Virginia, $1.2 million in savings, where others in Washington State were having up to $3.5 million in costs for before they went paperless. So, we definitely identified a challenge and a cost associated with it, and then leveraging our current clients, be able to find a solution that we can then address across all the DMVs across the country. And as I said, this started with my team, and then marketing got involved because they were starting to see the success we were having. So, it started with one of my guys reaching out to a few DMVs to having a blog on how DMVs are saving resources by going digital. It started to get more traction there, so we developed a one-pager on how to increase revenue at your agency, all the way to developing out a full webinar, and brought on one or two clients to be able to share more about their current situation and how leveraging our solution helped increase ROI. So, it was kind of cool and exciting to see something that stemmed from one rep on my team all the way to the entire marketing team. And we saw about 25% of our pipeline generated for that quarter from this campaign. So definitely was successful on that end. So, and wrapping up here, as I've been saying, a great way to have a relevant message that can be efficiently used across a grouping of accounts is to leverage campaigns in this way. You don't have to have the same template or even call it campaigns, but even starting to think through, how do I have a common theme and challenge that I've been able to identify specific to a grouping of accounts, so that I can then have a tailored approach that works efficiently across those accounts, keeping your messaging fresh, continuously changing it up, keeping it more relevant for the BDRs or your SDRs or your inside sales reps, and helping to even retain them longer, keeping them from burning out. So campaigns are great from keeping your reps involved and engaged to developing a really good pipeline as you move that through your prospecting efforts on the road. So, and the beauty is everybody can do it. It doesn't just have to be marketing. So everyone can get involved. Again, I'm Drew Leach, manager of lead generation here at Granicus. It's been a pleasure speaking to you all today. And if anyone has any questions or would like to just connect, feel free to reach out. Happy to chat further on how we're leveraging campaigns or just best practices in general that we're leveraging here at Granicus. So I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you very much for listening.